Welcome to the farm.
Welcome to the farm. I'm Justin, and we're going to get back on the Grapple today. The last video we left off, we drilled all our holes in our supports, drilled all our holes in our sleeves and our pins, and today we're going to start welding some stuff together. Let's get going. So I think the first thing I'm going to start with is welding our outside sleeves to our supports. And I think the easiest way to do this is just going to be to lay the support on the table, put the sleeve in, line up where I want. I'm going to put the pin in just to give it weight and hopefully keep the sleeve from distorting under the heat. And then hopefully just weld it like that. We'll see how it works. Okay, so I got the first sleeve and support tack welded, and it ended up pretty flush on that backside there. I'm pretty happy with that. The clamp was kind of difficult though, trying to get that lined up, but I think we got it. So now I just need to go ahead and weld this around, and I think what I'm going to do is just do small little pieces just to try to avoid getting too much heat in one spot and just kind of slowly work my way around. And we'll see how it goes. So I decided I'm going to use the leftover pin from my first rendition that ended up being a little bit wider, so I have a little bit taller of a pin, and then I can get my clamp up a little bit higher and hopefully see my material a little bit easier, and I won't run the risk of damaging one of the pins I want to use. Okay, so we got our first sleeve and support welded in. Welds are okay. I'd obviously like them to look a little bit better, but it is what it is. I'm not a professional welder. But one thing I was concerned about did kind of happen. I think I overheated the sleeve, and now that it's cooling, I can't move the pin. So let's see if we can get that knocked out and see if it's going to actually work or not. So I got the pin out. I think what I'm going to try to do now is grab one of these other smaller pins. Maybe this pin's just retaining heat and that expanded. So I'm going to grab one of the pins that's cool and see if it'll slide in here. Yep. And it turns around in there nice and easy. So I think we're okay. Let me just go grab a bolt. We'll try putting a bolt through here and see what that looks like. Okay, so I picked up the actual bolts I'm going to use. I got some grade 8 quarter 20 bolts. These are 2-inch long. I probably could have gone a little bit shorter, but I think these are going to work. So let's go ahead, slide our pin in. Slide our bolt in. And I think that's going to work out pretty nice. The weld's pretty close to the head and where the nut's going to go, but I think it'll be fine. Even if this bolt's not tightened all the way, I got nylon lock nuts, so it doesn't have to be completely tight, just tight enough to hold the pin from falling out. I mean, the pin could be loose in here and it's not going to hurt anything. So I think that's going to work good. Before I go through the process of mass welding all those together, I'm going to take one of the ones that doesn't have the bolt hole in it, the other side of the support, and I'm going to weld one of those together and then put the sleeve in between and kind of see how everything fits and how the pins fit and make sure this is going to work. Okay, so we have our first piece we welded with the bolt and the pin. I'm just going to verify that this thing still will work in either direction. The bolt worked that way. Turn the pin 180 degrees. Oh yeah, bolt works that way, so that's good. So let's see how all these fit together. Here's our 2-inch spacer sleeve. And then our end piece that we just finished welding up. It's still a little hot. But yeah, that fits on real nice. So there we go. Then the arm will attach to the center sleeve and it'll roll right on that pin. I think that's going to work great. I'm pretty excited about that. So now that I know this all works, I can go into mass producing these two pieces. And I'll catch up with you when that's done. So I have one more sleeve and support to weld up for the arm pivot points. I'm not going to do anything with the cylinder pivot points until I figure out the geometry of those supports and how they're all going to interwork with the arms. So for now, those are just going to wait. But I came up with a better process for this, and I wanted to kind of show you what I'm doing, and I'll explain it first. What I'm doing is I'm still using the same pin, still using the ground clamp up on top, holding all that straight, and then I'm tacking in 3 or 4 places around the sleeve. And as the sleeve hits up, it's holding tight on the pin. So then I can actually hold the welding gun sturdy and pivot the material around, and I'm getting what looks like a nice solid bead. I haven't cleaned any of them up yet. I'm going to wait for them to cool, and I'll take them over to the wire wheel and we'll take a look at them. But I figured I'd show you what I came up with here. So here's kind of what it looks like with that process. I think it turns out a lot neater and smoother. Obviously, we still have all the slag on there we have to clean up to really look at it. Of course, the one that I videoed didn't turn out as nice as some of the other ones I did. Like this one, to me, looks like it's got a nice smaller bead. Maybe I just moved it a bit faster or whatever, but we're gonna let these things cool off, and then I'll bring them over, hit them with the wire wheel, and let's really see what they look like. Okay, so I got all my welds cleaned up, and I will show you what they look like. This is the very first one I did, and it's looking really rough. It's gonna hold, it's got good penetration. I can see, I don't know if you guys can see in the camera, but the coloring on the back, it's got good penetration to the steel. So I know it's gonna hold, it just doesn't look very nice. But then as I did that other process, here's one of the last ones I did, and that weld looks really nice. I like that one. Still doesn't look like a professional weld, but definitely way better than the first one, so I'm happy with that. The next step we need to do is figure out how to get these sleeves welded to the actual arms. And I don't really have a plan for that yet, so that'll be interesting to figure out. All right, I have a plan now to be able to get this sleeve welded in and centered on this arm. And what I did is I cut 2 spacers out of my solid bar stock, and I'll be able to set that arm on there, slide the sleeve in, and that should be centered on that sleeve, and then I can still put that pin in to keep everything centered and shape. And what I ended up doing was measuring my distance here, which was 1 3/4, taking half of that, and then subtracting half of this from that measurement, which this is 1/4 inch stock, so 1/8 of an inch. So half of this is 7/8 minus 1/8 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch. So I have 3/4 inch spacers holding that up, and that should, in theory, put that sleeve on center. Well, I think that worked out pretty well. I guess there's no real way of knowing until we get it on there. Let's see if we kind of ended up center. Yeah, about 3/4 of an inch. And about 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, we're pretty close. I think we're close enough for that to work. And I'll go ahead, I'll weld up the other 3, and I'll catch back up with you. So I got all the arm pieces welded up now. Welds cleaned up, they're looking really good. A lot better than what a lot of my sleeve welds look like. But yeah, I'm excited. It's been a long time getting these little pieces made, cut, fabricated, and it feels good to just start having stuff coming together and see things starting to take shape. So I think in the next video we'll work on getting these things over to the bucket and start maybe even tacking or welding 2 of these on so we can start figuring out our cylinder geometry and our arm length. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this one. Just want to say thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.